Hey, Stoic warrior. In a world overflowing with words, where everyone clamors to be right, the true challenge is not improving your point. It is in mastering yourself. Every day, countless voices attempt to pull you into conflict, to bait you into the endless cycle of argument and ego. And yet, the Stoic knows this. To argue with a fool is to surrender your peace, not to gain truth. Imagine a man trying to teach a fish how to climb a tree. Frustration mounts, energy is wasted, and the fish swims away, unchanged. That image, humorous as it may be, is the reality of engaging with someone whose mind is closed. The fool does not simply lack knowledge, he clings to his certainties as though they were life itself. His identity depends on being right, and any challenge to that certainty becomes a threat. You see, wisdom cannot be poured into a vessel already full. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus reminds us that the only thing truly within our control is our own reasoned action. Marcus Aurelius writes that the universe unfolds according to its nature, and fighting its course only wastes strength. When a fool speaks, when he mocks, misleads, or provokes, you are not required to engage on his terms. Your victory is not measured in domination, but in serenity. Your mastery is not in winning arguments, but in remaining unmoved. To argue with the fool is to step into a storm. You may begin with balance, but soon chaos sweeps over you. Your voice rises, your mind tightens, your calm is lost, and all the while, the fool thrives on your reaction. The true challenge, then, is not to convince him, but to maintain your inner equilibrium. Silence, reason, and presence become your allies. The Stoic does not fight noise with noise. He does not match fire with fire. He becomes the unshakable rock amid the waves, the reflection of clarity in a world of distraction. This is the path we will explore today. How to deal with fools without losing your composure, without surrendering your peace, and without allowing their chaos to invade your mind. This is not avoidance. This is mastery. This is wisdom. When a fool speaks, remember this. You cannot control his mind, only your own. The fool clings to his beliefs as a drowning man clutches driftwood. It is not knowledge he lacks, but flexibility. His mind is full, crowded with certainties, with identities he refuses to question. To attempt to pull him from this illusion is to wrestle with the wind. You may exert energy, voice, and logic, yet nothing changes. The fool is impervious to reasoning because he confuses his beliefs with his being. He cannot separate himself from his opinions, and so any challenge feels like a threat. To argue with him is not to win, but to surrender your own peace. The Stoics understood this long before our modern chaos. Epictetus reminds us that we are responsible only for our own actions, not for the opinions of others. Marcus Aurelius writes that the universe unfolds according to its nature, and fighting its course only wastes strength. Every argument with a fool is a battle you cannot win because the ground itself is not yours. The fool thrives in chaos. You thrive in clarity. The secret is to observe without absorbing, to act without reacting, to move without attachment to outcome. Consider the metaphor of a cup of water. If the cup is already full, no matter how pure and refreshing the water may be, it will overflow. The mind of the fool is exactly the same, already overflowing with preconceptions, assumptions, and ego. You cannot force understanding into a mind that is not prepared to receive it. The Stoic does not waste energy attempting the impossible. Instead, he cultivates his own clarity, his own composure, and allows wisdom to flow where it can. Reaction is the fool's domain. Response is the Stoic's. One is impulsive, fleeting, and destructive. The other is deliberate, enduring, and constructive. When insulted, mocked, or misunderstood, the natural urge is to strike back. Yet this is precisely the trap. By engaging, you descend to the fool's level, and he holds the advantage there. He thrives on provocation. He feeds on your energy. The Stoic remains silent, not because he is weak, but because he understands that silence is strength. Silence is not agreement, it is mastery. Silence is the shield that protects your inner life from being hijacked by chaos. In that calm, you retain sovereignty over your mind, the most valuable possession you have. Actions, more than words, define the Stoic's power. If a fool calls you weak, do not argue. Demonstrate strength through quiet composure. If he mocks your serenity, do not justify yourself. Embody calmness. Live in accordance with virtue. The fool cannot understand it because his reality is built on reaction. He needs your disturbance to feel validated. Deny him that, and you regain the power that argument would have stolen from you. The Stoic knows that true victory is internal, not external. It is measured by tranquility, integrity, and self-mastery, not by the temporary applause of proving another wrong. Now, consider the fool within. Often, the most dangerous arguments are the ones we have with ourselves. The inner critic, the ego insisting that we must always be right, is another form of the fool. That voice insists on control, domination, and recognition. Until we recognize and master this inner fool, outer fools retain the ability to unsettle us. Mastery begins by observing your own thoughts without judgment. Let them flow, let them pass, and in that stillness, outer fools lose their power. You cannot be disturbed by what you have already understood within yourself. Each encounter with a fool serves as a mirror. Every insult, every provocation, every misunderstanding reflects the attachments and unresolved tendencies still living inside you. The wise use these moments as lessons. Instead of resentment, they feel gratitude. Gratitude for the mirror, for the insight it provides into their own remaining attachments. This is the Stoic way, not to despise the fool, but to learn from him indirectly, by seeing the reflection of one's own mind. Patience is another tool. Fools are often loud and persistent because they are trapped in urgency, in the illusion that the world must conform to their understanding immediately. The Stoic, grounded in time's flow, does not rush. He acts when appropriate, speaks when necessary, and otherwise maintains calm observation. He does not force clarity on the world. He cultivates clarity within, and in that clarity acts naturally. This is how wisdom unfolds, not in the heat of confrontation, but in the quiet, steady rhythm of conscious choice. Imagine a pond. Toss a stone into the still water, and ripples disrupt the reflection. Anger, argument, provocation, these are stones. But when the water is still, the reflection returns, undistorted. The Stoic mind mirrors this stillness. The fool's chaos cannot distort it. Even in the midst of insult or falsehood, truth remains visible, not because it battles falsehood, but because it does not require validation. Presence becomes its own proof. The fool speaks, you reflect. The fool shouts, you endure. The fool attacks, you remain unmoved. Yet action is sometimes necessary. The Stoic does not condone passivity. If a fool spreads harm, poisoning others, your response is precise, deliberate, and without anger. Remove the poison, correct the injustice, act with principle, not for ego, but for virtue. You do not wrestle in the mud of insult. You do not argue for supremacy. You act effectively, cleanly, and in alignment with reason. In doing so, you transform conflict into service and chaos into order. Finally, remember the highest truth. The fool and the wise are not two beings, but two states of consciousness. Every fool is a potential lesson. Every argument is an opportunity to refine your own virtue. When you see this, you no longer need to silence the fool externally. You silence the fool internally. You no longer need victory through domination because your victory is already secured within. This is the Stoic path. Not reaction, not provocation, but quiet, deliberate mastery of the self. So what is the ultimate lesson here, Stoic warrior? It is this. The world is full of voices, opinions, and arguments that seek to pull you into chaos. But your power lies in choosing your response. The fool will always exist. People will always cling to their certainties, misunderstand, misjudge, or provoke you. But your task is not to convert them or dominate them. It is to maintain your own inner harmony, to stand unmoved in the storm while the world rages around you. The Stoic recognizes that external events are beyond control. What can be controlled is the mind, the will, the action aligned with virtue. When confronted with folly, the Stoic does not fight the fool directly. He does not shout, prove, or insist. He watches. He listens. He acts when necessary, but always with calm deliberation and purpose, never from reaction or ego. You do not need to win every argument. You do not need to justify yourself constantly. You need only to live with integrity, consistency, and presence. And in this, you gain something far greater than any verbal victory: freedom. Freedom from the constant pull of others' opinions, freedom from the need to be right, freedom from the exhausting dance of proving yourself. This is the true prize of the wise. While the fool expends endless energy defending illusions, you conserve yours for the meaningful. You embody patience, clarity, and strength. You become like the mountain. Winds may howl, rains may fall, yet your roots are deep, your position unshakable. Remember, the fool is not always external. The ego within, that inner voice insisting on recognition and dominance, is just as dangerous. The moment you master that inner fool, when you no longer demand to be right, no longer feed the need to control, you achieve true Stoic freedom. Arguments lose their grip, insults lose their sting, misunderstandings dissolve. In mastering yourself, you transcend the chaos of others. You realize that true power is the calm mind, not the loudest voice. And yet, this does not mean passivity or silence in the face of harm. The Stoic acts decisively when virtue calls for it. If you encounter injustice, you do not engage angrily or personally. You intervene with precision and clarity, correcting what must be corrected without becoming entangled. This is the art of action without reaction, service without ego, influence without attachment. You remain untouchable by folly because your center is rooted in reason, not in proving a point. So, what should you do when the fool appears in your life? Or when you feel the urge to argue, defend, or prove yourself? Pause, breathe, reflect, ask, am I speaking to enlighten, or am I speaking to be seen? Am I moving from love and wisdom, or from fear and attachment? In this simple pause lies freedom. In this presence lies the mastery that fools cannot touch. Each encounter becomes a lesson, a mirror reflecting what still requires attention within yourself. The world does not need more clever debaters. It needs calm observers, steady minds, and hearts aligned with virtue. It needs people who, like the Stoics of old, can move through life with quiet strength, knowing when to act, when to speak, and when to remain still. Your silence, your composure, your refusal to descend into reaction becomes a beacon of wisdom, showing by example what it means to live with clarity and grace. And so, Stoic warrior, carry this with you. Never argue with a fool, not because you are weak, not because you avoid conflict, but because your energy is precious, your mind is sovereign, and your peace is priceless. When you act with reason, virtue, and calm, you teach more than words ever could. The fool may remain unaware, but your presence becomes the living lesson. The ultimate victory is inner freedom, and the path to that freedom begins with stillness, awareness, and the courage to remain unmoved in the chaos. If this message resonates with you, take a moment now. Pause, reflect, and breathe. Consider where in your life you have been pulled into arguments that drained you rather than served you. Decide to practice stillness instead. Begin today by observing your own reactions, choosing presence over provocation, and embodying wisdom quietly. And if you found value here, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and continue your journey of mastery. Share this with someone who needs the reminder that inner peace is stronger than any argument, and that silence can be louder than words. There is another video waiting for you, one that dives deeper into Stoic strategies for living with clarity and calm in a chaotic world. Watch it next, and continue walking the path of the Stoic warrior. Remember, the fool will always speak, but you are already beyond the need to respond. Your victory is already secured. Walk forward calmly, act with virtue, and let the stillness of your mind illuminate the path. You are free. You are sovereign. You are the master of your own inner life. And that, above all else, is the ultimate intelligence.